like to call this meeting of the Lake Washington School District Board of Directors for October 10th to order. Thank you all for being here. We are all present and accounted. We've just come from a study session, so excuse our being a little late. And I will entertain a motion on the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Agenda is approved. Recognition, Lake Washington Schools Foundation.
Thank you.
Make it brief.
Good evening. And thank you to the board for having us out. My name is Larry Wright. I'm the executive director of the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. I'm also a dad with 2 kids in our district. If you're in the district, you know this is a fantastic, high-performing place, and it takes a lot of work to make it that way. Of course, we've got the school board members, we have the administrators. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the teachers and principals that make this a great place. We as the foundation raise money to help all those that do the work of making this a great district. And this year we're very pleased for our 10th year, 11th year to make a set of grants one more time. And so I'd like to introduce our 2 co-presidents, Matt Eisenhower and Sarah Stone, to announce this year's awards.
So this year we're very excited to be granting $207,000 to the district to support the students and the staff, providing more resources and more support. So we just are very pleased to keep giving you guys money.
We're pleased to keep accepting it on the part of our students and staff.
Keep it flowing.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to continue supporting the district.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure working with each of you, and we just can't thank you enough for all that you do for our schools and for our students. So thank you, and we look forward to a continued awesome relationship, and thanks for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we start off every fall with our National Merit Semifinalists and Commended Scholars. You want to introduce?
Yeah, so we're really pleased to have Jane Todd, principal of Redmond High School, here tonight to introduce us to and help us recognize the scholars from Redmond High School. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you, and thank you so much to the board and superintendent for this recognition this evening. I'm fairly certain that you all know this information, but for the benefit of our audience, I'd like to say that over 1.6 million students in more than 22,000 high schools entered the 2015 National Merit Scholarship Program by taking the PSAT 2 years ago. From those students, 16,000 semifinalists were chosen, and they represent less than 1% of each state's high school seniors. The number of semifinalists named from each state is in proportion to its percentage of the national total of graduating high school seniors. About 15,000 of the semifinalists are expected to advance to finalist status based on meeting additional standards and fulfilling several requirements. It should be noted that commended scholars scores are just a point or 2 shy of the bar set for semifinalists and still represent an extremely worthy accomplishment. It should also be noted that while the nation's semifinalists represent less than 1% of each state's high school seniors, our semifinalists represent 3% of our high school seniors. And taken together, the semifinalists and commended scholars represent 7% of our graduating class. So we're very proud of these students. Thank you. These students are, I'm very proud of them, not only because they're very, very smart and hardworking, but also because they're kind and compassionate young people involved in their school and in their community. I'd like to invite the commended scholars to come to the front first, and once all are assembled, I'll ask them to tell the board who they are, which university they're hoping to attend, what major course of study that they're planning to take, and a few words about their most memorable high school experience or educational experience to date. So please, when I call your name, if you'll come forward. I'm not sure that everyone is here this evening, of course, but Wen Yi Ao, Sean Brzezinski, Levi Casto, Dalai Chadra, Grace Chen, Alexander Chokodrov, Christina Chu, Gabriela De Vincenzo, Rand Furch, Elian Ben Formantes, Kirsten Foster, Saranj Pukacharya, Dorothy Liu, Maya McCrae, Emma Martz, Nadia Medvinsky, Andrei Ryabtsov, Megan Stopani, Tengus Ultsi, Kenna Wilson, Sophie Yu, and Alice Chu. No committed scholars
I
in
think
attendance
you
this
were all
evening.
supposed to come up here and line up.
Any
Come on,
commended
don't be
scholars?
shy.
Okay, and so
There
then I'll go on to
must be
semifinalists.
some here. If you're here, please come forward.
Oh, good job. Just,
There's usually a microphone we pass.
you can use, I think you can use this one, or you can use this one if you'd like.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh. Well, I didn't really prepare for this. I don't know what the questions are again.
I'll tell you the questions.
Okay.
Tell them who you are.
I'm Alex Shkodrov.
Okay.
It's fine if you pronounce it wrong. Nobody really does. Sorry.
And what college do you think you're going to attend?
Well, I haven't really decided, but there's a lot of options. I'm planning on attending USC, though, University of Southern California.
Okay. What do you think you want to study?
Engineering or physics.
Very good. And a memorable educational experience you've had?
One of my favorite experiences has actually been this year. In my AP Physics class, we have a really cool teacher named Mr. Gehring, and he's so passionate about physics that it actually inspired me. I've never taken a real physics course before, and up until this point in my life, I had never really considered physics as a career opportunity. I had only really considered engineering, which I know is related, but taking this class, it's only been a couple weeks since the start of school, and I already feel like it's significantly changed what I want to do with my future.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now the semifinalists. Vishal Bhaskar, Sophia Chang, Marcello Cunningham, Falak Daoud, Shlok Jain, Siri Mellam, Jehi Park, Martin Randall, Miriam Raza, Erika Singha, Dana Spillinger, Pearl Thyssen, Oliver Zhu, and Michael Gringaus.
Come on up.
My name is Pearl Tyson. I hope to attend the Massachusetts Institute of Technology fall next year. I would hope to study physics there, and relatedly, my most memorable experience was actually also Mr. Gehring's AP Physics class last year. So,
thank you. My name is Siri Mellam. I hope to attend Yale and also study physics, and my most memorable experience is also Mr. Gehring's physics class last year.
My name's Shlok. I hope to attend MIT and study computer science, and my most memorable experience is also Mr. Gehring's physics class, building popsicle stick bridges.
My name is Sophia Chang, and I want to attend Stanford, and I'm interested in computer science and math. And my most memorable experience would be working on Japanese group projects with my friends.
I'm Oliver Joe. I'm hoping to attend Yale or Rice, and I'm hoping to major in maybe biochemistry or biomedical engineering. And one of my favorite experiences was in sophomore year when I took AP Chemistry. I was one of those sophomores. And I really enjoyed the class, and it really appealed to me.
Hi, I'm Donna Spillinger. I'd hope to attend either Stanford or Columbia to study computer science and artificial intelligence. And a memorable experience was AP Chem with Ms. Zorns, because that was hard.
Hi, I'm Michael Gringaus. I hope to attend the University of Washington in Seattle, and haven't decided what I'm going to study yet. As for my most memorable educational experience, probably the environmental engineering and sustainable design course I took last year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Will the parents please stand to be recognized for your great accomplishments? Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. It is wonderful to see how successful our students are and how interested they are in, I think all we heard tonight were STEM.
I'm not keeping score.
Oh, yes, I know. Well, I'm amused by the physics because I think everyone should have to take physics. I think physics is foundational. All right.
I'd have never graduated if I had been quiet.
Hey, physics is, it's foundational. All right, our host school.
We are so pleased this evening to have Mary Wilbur, who oversees our Native American, Alaska Native program, together with North Shore and Bellevue. I always forget that third district. And so we are just so pleased to have Mary here with, looks like a big team, to talk about the program. So welcome, Mary, and Kelly is here as well. So Kelly Pease, so I'm not sure who's beginning.
Presenting, but I just wanted to do a little introduction
Great.
to Mary Wilbur and let it be known that she is foundational to the support of and the running of our Native American and Alaska Native program. She is a mentor, a teacher, and an advocate for our students. And so without further ado, I'll let Mary come up and talk to you about her fabulous program.
Wyatt, Incha East Squeezed Smeeks Takaka, Hasta la Cult. My name is Mary Wilbur. I'm Okanagan from Osuyas Indian Band. It's good to be here tonight and to present the Lake Washington School District Board of Directors and to our superintendent, Dr. Tracy Pierce. The Native Education Program has been in existence since 1974. So a lot of years we've been in Lake Washington School District. Sometimes we're invisible. How many of you knew there was a Native Ed program in the district? Raise your hands. I better have my Native families raising their hands. Loud and proud. We are a consortium of 3 districts, like Tracy mentioned: Bellevue, Lake Washington, and North Shore School Districts. Lake Washington has 127 students who have filled out enrollment forms. If you take a look over there where the screen is, you will see an enrollment form that our students or our parents have to fill out. In Lake Washington School District, there's about 320 Native students that have identified themselves, and there are much more out there. We'd like to thank the district for having us be part of the program and be part of the school district. A little bit about us. We have, if you look behind you, you'll see some flags from the many, many different nations that represent our program. We have 87 different federally recognized tribes in our ENAP program. So if you want to take a look at that, you're more than welcome to. I know that a lot of the students have gone up there. I had to add 2 flags because the Flathead Nation I did not put up there, and Chickadee reminded me of that, and then Standing Rock Sioux. So their flag is up there now being represented. I wanted to start this evening. Our program is multifaceted, but tonight I would like to share with you some of the programming that we started last year. We received a grant from the Gates Foundation to explore our languages, to look at traditional namings, and then also for our Native Youth Leadership Academy. For the past 3 years, we've had over 30 students, high school students, participate in our Leadership Academy. So I want to start out this evening by showing a video of our
I've really seen NALA start and grow into what it is now. There weren't like a lot of people when it first. Started, but now I see regulars, and I see regulars bringing more people, making them regulars, and so it's just growing and growing and growing.
I wasn't even comfortable saying my name. Since NALA, I've been I've been more open, and I've just been really outgoing.
Now I'm volunteering, like the first one to get up and talk to people. Like this morning, I love talking to people now. It's not so bad. Like my fear of speaking to people is gone.
Every time you take that healthy risk, every time you stretch yourself, every time you step beyond, your personal thoughts of what you can do, you grow.
I have seen some students that are really quiet find that voice, and they're able to share their needs. They're able to find some happiness. They're able to do things that they didn't think that they were capable of doing. And that's what makes Leadership Academy so special.
NALA improves culture in the regards that when you have over 100 students coming from around the region to interact with one another, they're going to see that their culture, their history, their part of themselves is extended into when they meet another student from another tribe.
We are from the North Kitsap School District, and we are going to sing one of the Suquamish Tribe's songs.
I've just learned so many new things about my culture because I came in and I haven't really known anything, and just like in this past year, my horizon has expanded way more with just meeting a different variety of people that I wouldn't get to know outside of this.
When you're at NILA, you feel like you're not alone within the Native community, and that there are others that go through what you go through as well. And you can speak about it here, and it's going to be safe.
It makes me feel comfortable that I can talk about my Native culture, because it's hard. It's really hard, to be honest. It's super hard sometimes just to be the only dark-skinned person in your class.
A lot of students talk about being the only Native kid in the classroom. So I love the fact that they can come to something like this and be the majority.
The goals of NALA are to help our children to find their voice within their community, within their schools, within their families. And then once they find that voice, to go out and do something about it.
Why are you here? What are you seeking? What are you looking for coming to this? We're going to be here all the way till next spring, growing, strengthening, encouraging each other.
Leadership to me is somebody who steps up, someone who's always ahead, who's willing to have others follow him and make the tough decisions.
We have so much to fight for and everything that leaders are needed more than ever.
This generation is going to be the bounce back generation, and we've got academies like this and programs out in the districts, and we've got older kids teaching the younger kids wanting to learn from the older kids, and it's going to continue to get better if we continue to become leaders.
To be able to go meet people, to learn together, be able to grow together, and I think that's what's really important to me, and that's why I like to come back.
And that's what we're about, is community and being connected together.
If they have challenges, they're going to support one another. If they have good things that are happening in their lives, they're going to support one another, and that's powerful.
I like my natives who want to be leaders.
Which one? Yeah, can it go off? Yeah, okay. I wanted to say thank you to the Lake Washington School District and for the high schools that allow our children to come out of the classrooms to participate in Leadership Academy. It's a 4-time-a-year academy that we have. It's at the Puyallup Tribal Center. Last year, we had 22 school districts involved and 2 tribes. And like I said, over the past 3 years, we've had over 30 students from Lake Washington and Bellevue and North Shore School District participate in the Leadership Academy. So I've invited a few of our Leadership Academy students to come and share with you how NALA has impacted their lives.
Osio Yuhu Glui Nokwiski. Hello, my name is Nathan Robertson. I am a sophomore at Juanita High School. and I'm very honored to be here to represent my program and to speak to the board. So I've been in the Leadership Academy for about 3 years, since 8th grade and 8th or 7th grade, and it's really helped me grow as a leadership in my community, starting from sports, school, around my house, in my community. And it's also had me grow a lot within my culture. I've learned a lot of new things. I've learned my new name. I'm very honored to have it. And, you know, just from being a better leader, I'm able to speak in classrooms now without being nervous or scared or in front of all these people. And, you know, I think I have great leadership qualities of having people speak to me and I'll listen to them, or being able to speak in a big room or have a lot of confidence. So I love this program. I wouldn't like it to end. I'd like to go for as many years as possible and stay with this program for as long as I can. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Sherfield. I am very honored to be here today. I am Cherokee in Chemehuevi. I am a freshman at Lake Washington High School, and Nala has really helped me become a better, stronger person, because when I was growing up as a little girl, I really didn't have any connections to Native young, because my father was there for me, but he wasn't there. I love my father to death, but he always wasn't there for me. So Nala has really helped me become a stronger person. Sorry. Speak up. Okay. I'm really sorry. It was just really intimidating, you know, with all these board of directors. But it's helped me become a stronger person and to believe in who I am. And I'm not afraid anymore. Well, I am afraid, but not as much as I was. Yeah. So it's helped me become a stronger person. And to really speak up for myself, because I've never really been the kind of person to really, you know, speak for myself and speak for who I am and who I want to be. I never speak up for who I am, who I want to be. People see me down here, you know, just a regular person, right? But I want to be up here, and it's kind of hard, you know. Everybody struggles with that kind of thing, but Nala has really helped me, especially Mary. She's kind of like a mother figure to me. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Na'aset. My name is Etsaneta. It means pipe woman in my Grovant tribe. I have been part of NALA for 3 years, I think. Yeah, I'm not really counting, but I'm a freshman at Lake Washington High School, and so I never really wanted to go to high school because I didn't know anybody, and or I just didn't want to, because I'm very multiracial. I'm Black, I'm Native, and I'm African American. I said that. I'm Black, I'm Native, and I'm white. But on forms to fill out for high school, they had check what box you are of what race, and I had to put other because I was like, this is way too many. So, but NALA has helped me to be able to become more confident in myself and to be able to speak out for what I believe in, and personally in how I don't like seeing people treated, or how I would like people to treat me better, or and school's not always easy, so having NALA to go to on a Saturday or a Thursday to just get away from school a little bit and to come together with a bunch of natives really does make a difference, and it helps me to go back to school the next day and have a brighter hope for the day. And I think I become more optimistic as I go, because I meet out of 22 districts, I've met many people. A lot of them have helped me to get where I am today, and I really want to go for the next 4 years, because I get out of school for a couple days, but it also helps me to meet new people, and that's all I have to say about NALA. So.
Shoshana Bleasner. I'm Athabascan, and I've been in NALA since it began, so it's like 2 years. My native name is Yokush, which means Northern Lights. NALA has helped me speak out more. It's actually made me more of a leader, and it's helped me like make new friends and talk to people, and it's a really fun place, and I'm really honored to have to come up here and speak to you guys. Yeah. Thank you.
If you have noticed, some of our students introduce themselves in their traditional manner, using their languages and traditional names. And so I want to invite Vince Standing Deer to come on up. If he's, okay, here he is. I guess it's in 2014-15. I've almost been in this position for 17 years. And every year I'd have a student come up and they'd say, "Mary, what's your Indian name?" And I'd say, "Well, my traditional name in Okanagan is Smeekstakaka, which means snowbird." And in 2014, I thought, this is the last time that I'm going to have a student come up, because every child is entitled to have a traditional name. They're entitled to be able to be connected to their ancestors in their native tongue. And so I got together a group of elders. Mr. Standing Deer Gomez is one of those elders. Ellen Jo Schaff is here tonight. Patty Bleasner is here tonight. I'm trying to look to see if there's others. I don't see Chet, Vicky, or Arlie. But we had 8 elders who sat down to come up with the process, a protocol that our children could receive a traditional name. So I'm going to let Vince talk about that protocol and the journey that we went through in the 2015-16 school year for students to be able to receive traditional names. So Mr. Vince Standing Deer.
For literally thousands and thousands of years, all of our Indian nations have been passing down their culture ways, their history, their music, everything. And so we began to see the arrival of the Europeans. Our traditional ways continue. But as time goes on, after the Indian Wars, 200 years of Indian Wars, we have a lot of Indians who will be moving off the reservations that they were assigned to, and moving even further out to this very day. A lot of people don't know that most Indians now are in the urban areas. And how does one learn these culture ways if they're in the urban Indians? They're urban Indians away from their traditional tribes. And additionally, there's a lot of urban kids who are not aware of a lot of the history and culture ways of their own tribe. This particular program has been bringing that out for them. Mary and I and Arlie traveled to Reno to give a special workshop on one of those culture ways, and that is the naming ceremony. Throughout this whole school year, to give you a quick synopsis, a lot of kids were involved in the process that they go through for an Indian name. Now, as one elder said, unless we bring the culture ways off the reservations to our children here in the urban areas, the following generation and the one after that will be completely separated from our ancestors. And so all the Indian Ed programs are doing various things to bring the culture ways. And this year, Mary had this dream, this plan that she wanted to undertake. And so we went on this journey. We called it the journey, and it was a journey. A lot of the kids who asked went through a process of learning. They went through a process of activities, which are too numerous to mention right now. They have to take all evening. But once they went through this process, month after month, with certain responsibilities, and some of them having a connection to their home reservations, we finally get to June at the end of the school year, where we had a naming ceremony in this very room. The kids had learned about gift giving. They had learned about the things that they would wear, all the tribal regalia. And it was a very beautiful ceremony. And they received their names. And through the year, it was very tough on us elders trying to determine who should have a certain name. And we watched them, we experienced them, we interacted with the kids. And finally, through many meetings, we came up with names for them. And some of their names came from their families, directly from the reservation and their ancestors. But finally, the school year was over, and we had this beautiful ceremony in here. We had a nice big dinner. And it all ended good, as we would say. So this journey was just one aspect of bringing one of the culture ways to this particular group of people. And it's worked really well. We went to Reno to share it, and we got some good kudos from those who attended our workshop. And we are now in the process of starting it all over again. We have a number of kids who want to have an Indian name. Now, we took this very seriously, by the way. This is a very sacred thing that happened for all of us. We didn't want anybody from the outside or even from other reservations to say, oh, what are you guys doing? Well, we are bringing the culture ways to the urban area. These kids deserve it. Some of them cannot have contact. Some don't even know where to contact. But here we are now with a brand new school year. And I'm looking forward to going through the whole process again. And I'm sure the elders in our council will also agree to that. And it should be fun. Another school year of things to do in a serious way, in a good way. And we're very proud of this particular program. And that's a quick overview for you. No questions?
I'm so grateful to our Elders Council. The intergenerational learning and teaching and listening is an amazing journey. And the elders just bring a different dynamic to our program. And we are blessed to have that. The last thing we'd like to share this evening with you is our powwow committee. This is our 10th annual powwow. We've got a powwow poster up here. I would like to invite my head man and head woman to come up and share who they are and speak to you very, very quickly.
Hello, I'm Alex. I'm a high school senior.
Hi, I'm Chikri. I'm a freshman.
And we would like to invite you, as well as everyone in the audience, to our Veterans Powwow on October 22nd, just as 2 Saturdays from now, I believe, at Juanita High School.
Adding to that, other than the fact that we've worked very hard for this over the years and that we have developed into a stronger community with each other, I think it'd be great for not just the board, but for every one of you guys to come and see what we get to wake up and say that we are and be proud of who we are, and the fact that we get to wake up and just be a better person because of our culture.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask my students to come forward. We're going to do a quick song, and then we are going to let you go on to the rest of the board business that you have. Thank you for inviting us to come and be part of your evening. So students, It is Indigenous Days here in Washington State. We've got Indigenous food at the back, so if you would like to taste some of our salmon, buffalo stew, cornmeal muffins, different types of foods, you're welcome to do that. We've even got containers for you to take some home this evening for your midnight snack.
So my name is Roger Joss. I'm a teacher rep in Lake Washington School District. Before we start, really, I'm going to teach you guys something. Say Oki. Oki. Come on, say Oki. That's hello in Blackfeet. I'm from the Blackfeet country. I grew up in Ballard. My wife and I lived here in Kirkland for the last 10 years. Stacy and I have been married for 16. Sorry, my throat is sore. Teaching all day. My son goes to Rose Hill Middle School. I have a master's in teaching with elementary undergrad. I've been teaching at Bell Elementary for 2 years now. I'm new to the district. I'm new to this group here for this my first year. And I'm really proud to be here because I was one of those kids that didn't have this. I almost fell through the cracks and dropped out because there was no connection. It took one teacher to reach out and make that connection. And that's why I'm here. You got this one teacher. You got this support group. These kids are so fortunate. This is really nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. That was wonderful. We're going to take a 5-minute break because we know that not everyone likes to stay for our enthralling meetings. So we'll take a 5-minute break. But thank you all, and thank you for your great work, Mary. It's really appreciated, obviously, and we appreciate it a great deal. So thank you. State WAC. I'm going to read my script so that I do this right, and Dr. Pierce will keep me on track. So WAC 392-400-240 states that if the grievance is not resolved at the building level meeting or resolved before the superintendent or his/her designee, the student, parent, or guardian shall have the right to present a written and/or oral grievance to the Board of Directors during the board's next regular meeting. The board shall notify the student, parent, or guardian of its response to the grievance within 10 school business days after the date of the meeting. The discipline action shall continue notwithstanding the implementation of the grievance procedure set forth in this section unless the principal elects to postpone such action. At this time, will the parents introduce themselves and present the information they would like the board to consider? 15 minutes has been set aside to hear from you, and you can come forward to this mic in the center. Diane, are you keeping the clock? That that was unintended. Well, we gotta turn it off first. Wow. Sorry about that. I thought we had redone all the electronics in here. We did?
My name is Bhaskar Narayanan, and this is my son.
My name's Vidyut Bhaskar. I'm part of.
They go to the board and the superintendent. You need to speak right into the mic, okay?
Okay.
Slowly, so we can understand.
Okay. My name is Vidyut Bhaskar. I'm part of Evergreen Middle School 8th grade quest. On the last day of school of 7th grade, my algebra grade, which is a high school level class, was marked from an A to a B, which was not fair. If you go to the next page, you can see my test that I took on June 10th. On the right-hand corner of the left page, you can see that I got a 27 out of 28 on this test.
And this is a test with 5.
This test had 5 questions on it. If you go to the next page, you can see an image of a desk, and this is how my binder was placed, and this is what I was accused of, as I had my binder open under my desk during the test on June 10th. The reason I had my binder open was because I needed to get a pencil before the test, and noticed that I actually didn't have a pencil, and asked my teacher for a pencil, but then forgot to close my binder as I came back. Due to this action, on June 15th, the last day of school, the associate principal, Ms. Rudolph, brought me down to the office, telling me that my test score had been changed from a 27 to a 13.5, changing my overall grade from an A to a B.
This is the slide which says B as a title, and where it goes from 27 to 13.5.
Here you can see a balance of the claims that I have and of what the school has said about this topic. The school has said that my binder was open under my chair. I personally say that I had not looked at the binder, and in fact, during the test, about a third way through the test, I went down. Oh, I didn't go down, but I looked down to get my eraser and noticed that my binder was open. I closed it myself without any other teacher telling me to close it. I put a lot of hard work, as I remember the Thursday night when I came back at 9 o'clock. I looked through all of my homework assignments until 12 o'clock studying for this test. I know that this is not a fluke because through 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I've gotten a perfect math score on the state standard test at the end of the year. If you go to the next page, you can see on the left is the practice quiz, which in yellow, and on the right is the actual test I took on June 10th. The practice quiz was given about 4 days prior to the actual test. You can see 2 columns on both of them, one with no work and one with a lot of detail on it. There's no way one can get all that information just by, even if I did look at the yellow sheet, could not get all that information just by looking at that practice sheet. After lots and lots of conversation with LWSD, EMS, and my parents, after 3 months, my grade was changed from a 27 to a 13.5, back up to 24.5. Although this is still a B+, and 0.18% short of an A. On the next page, you can see why they actually penalized me. They realized that because my binder was open, they had to penalize me for some reason. So they just took away the points from problem 1, which had nothing to do with the actual practice quiz that I took. And you remember the eraser that I talked about? On problem 3, you can see erase marks where I erased, which means that my binder was closed prior to problem 5, meaning I could not have looked at the practice quiz. In closing, I've been in Quest since 3rd grade. I stretch myself to do more. I'm part of school varsity sports. I show integrity in academics and sports. And I'm proud of my Algebra 1 accomplishments, and I want my grade to be an A in my high school transcript. Thank you. The next slide, you can help me finish. We did the math, and we figured out that on this test, I need a 24.95 in order to get an A. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anything else you wanted to present?
No.
That's okay. Thank you very much. So the board will discuss it and let you know within 10 school days. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. I know how difficult that is. And it's quite a clear presentation. So thank you. All right. So moving on, it's public comment time. We have 3 people who have signed up. Bob Yoder from Redmond, and you will need to come over here. We will not touch the mic in the middle of the room. Let me do the introduction, although Mr. Yoder is well aware of it. This is our public comment time for the board. It's a time for the board to hear from the public. It's not a time for interaction or discussion. We ask you not to address personnel issues and to stick to the 3-minute timeline. Can you move the stop sign? There we go. The yellow light comes on when there is 1 minute left and the red light when the 3 minutes are over. And you are always free to email the board or provide written material to the board also. So thank you. Yes, I know you know this, but I think I've hit all the high points. Go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Bob Yoder, and it's nice over here because I can see the lights better. But I enjoyed sitting in very briefly at your work session, and my representative, Siri, brought up the ombudsman when you were talking about the roles of the board. And I think that's a great idea. I really do, and I just encourage the board and Tracy to consider that. I know that the city of Redmond has an ombudsman, and it's been very beneficial in 2-way public communication with the board. We do have private communications via email and phone calls and informally at meetings and whatnot. But this would be public communication, and in doing so, maybe more problems could be solved. You would definitely be more transparent. We would get more participation from you, the board, and it would generate interest, your participation within the community. So I encourage you to consider an ombudsman, and if you do have one, I don't recommend the City of Redmond method where they have one every month. I recommend that the ombudsman be to the board at lakewashingtonschooldistrict.org, and then informally you can decide in your body, who would be the ombudsman, because then it would be less confusing to the public that way. And what I really like about the ombudsman is that the board would report at the public meeting, what information that they got from XYZ citizen without having to necessarily, name them who they are. And then if actions are taken via Dr. Pierce, then you could solve some problems that way, maybe a few more, and maybe be a little bit more responsive. So that just about covers what I was going to mention. Ombudsman can get very busy during bond measures, various problems within the district. But even though he may not be able to respond to all of them because they might not be really strong issues of importance, you would still get feedback and you'd get a pulse of the community, maybe an advance notice of what's going on. So that's it. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Megan Hayton.
Thank you for your time. My name is Megan Hayton. I have an 8th grader at North Star and twin boys in 5th grade at Ben Franklin Elementary. Currently at Lake Washington School District, students can lottery into all the choice schools that they would like. It's like getting lottery tickets. I would like to propose that students are asked to select one choice school to lottery into, that they make their consideration and put forward just one lottery choice. I think there are many advantages to this. I think it better aligns students' academic interest to a particular choice school. I think it would create significantly smaller wait lists for the choice schools. I believe the system would be fairer, as currently some students win 3 lottery tickets and get into 3 choice schools, while others are number 680 on the wait list. I believe that enables students to select schools that are closer to their home. It enables the ability for families to keep siblings and twins together. I believe that it would provide better data for the Lake Washington School District and for the board on which choice schools are more preferred or more desired. I'm not asking for a discussion on choice schools versus home schools. I am not asking for a discussion on building more choice schools. I am simply asking that we come up with a better way for lotterying into the choice schools that we already have. And I haven't even used 3 minutes. Thank you for your time. I do have a highlights page for each of you. May I pass that out?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for coming. Thank you.
I got mine.
Thank you very much. Lisa Guthrie.
Hi, my name's Lisa Guthrie. I'm the mother of Mia, who is a 4th grader at Ben Rush Elementary. Mia has always been really bright. She's a voracious reader. She is a really talented writer who dreams of being an author when she grows up. We've had her evaluated for the Quest program every year since 1st grade, and she's always just missed. Last year was the closest that she's gotten. She got a 98th percentile on her COGAT, 99th percentile, unsurprisingly, on 4th grade Iowa reading, but she only got a 96th percentile on Iowa math. In any other school district in this area, that would have been enough to qualify Mia for a highly capable program. But Quest's cutoff were 98th percentile across the board last year. I thought this was strange because it's fairly well known that many gifted kids experience what's called asynchronous development, or single domain giftedness. Essentially that they're very strong in one subject, such as English and language arts, and maybe just very strong in another one, such as math. Sure enough, Lake Washington was receiving this exact feedback on the Quest program when Mia was being evaluated last spring. And this fall, they announced revised Quest qualification criteria that take this into account. Kids can now score 95th percentile, as low as 95th percentile in either math or ELA, and still qualify for Quest. So under the new criteria, Mia's test scores from last year would have qualified her for Quest. I've been in discussion with the folks at Quest, and they are refusing to evaluate or to use Mia's test scores from last year in consideration for Quest for next year. This strikes me as strange because if Mia had been in any other school district last year, Bellevue, Seattle, Issaquah, North Shore, any other school district in this area, she would have qualified for their highly capable program and would be allowed to use last year's test scores in consideration for Quest this year. But because she was in Lake Washington last year, she's not allowed to do that. WAC 392-170-075 says that the highly capable selection policy shall be based on professional judgment as to which students will benefit the most from inclusion in the district's program. I don't think that you can look at two kids who have the same test scores, one of whom was in Lake Washington last year and one of whom wasn't, and say that one would benefit from inclusion in Quest and the other wouldn't. I urge the board to reconsider this, to allow kids to have their scores from last year considered for Quest for this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to make public comment tonight? All right, I'll close the public comment period. Thank you to those who came. And moving on to the consent agenda, I will entertain a motion.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We poll the board, please.
Chris?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And the donations, you want me to read them?
I'd be happy to read them.
Okay, you're not losing your voice.
No, I just had a little frog.
All right.
All right, we have a number of very generous donations this evening, totaling $90,412. We have an $11,591 donation from the Juanita Schools Foundation to Juanita Elementary to provide stipends for music, computer, and science, and to support the volunteer program. $10,274 from the Alcott Elementary PTSA to Alcott Elementary to provide stipends for drama and choir club, cup stacking and running club, PTSA liaison, and to support classroom enrichment. $9,300 from Ben Franklin PTSA to Franklin Elementary to support classroom enrichment and field trips. $2,527 from the Helen Keller PTSA to Keller Elementary to support the book fair and classroom enrichment. $11,361 from the Horace Mann Elementary PTSA to Mann Elementary to purchase subscription renewals for Accelerated Math, Math Facts in a Flash, and STAR to support field trips and classroom enrichment. $14,132 from Rose Hill Elementary PTSA to Rose Hill Elementary to provide stipends for choir, math club, and watchdogs to support assemblies, library, and field trips, and to purchase first day folders with a subscription to Scholastic News and for copy machine supplies. $5,000 from the Evergreen Middle School PTSA to Evergreen Middle to purchase a sound system for the gym. $4,464 from the Kirkland Middle School PTSA to Kirkland Middle to provide a stipend for after-school homework support. $7,335 from the Redmond Middle School PTSA to Redmond Middle School to purchase emergency prep, walkie-talkies, and classroom supplies. $3,500 from Christopher and Barbara Kaler to Emerson K-12 to support the ceramics class and to purchase school-related supplies. $1,120 from the East King School Retirees Association to Muir Elementary to purchase classroom supplies. $2,820 from the Gifted Education Advisory Council to Redmond Elementary to support the Quest program. $3,702 from the Lake Washington High School Girls Soccer to Lake Washington High School to support field trips, or a field trip. And last but not least, $3,285 from the Lake Washington High School Dance Team Booster Club to Lake Washington High School to provide stipend for coaches. So all total tonight, $90,412 in very generous donations from very varied sources. So
Very
we
generous.
appreciate that.
Thank you very much to our communities. All right. We have a board policy revision, first reading to consider. I will entertain a motion, and then we'll have discussion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Do you want me to read the situation recommendation?
Sure.
Okay, so at the extended study
I just
session
figured we'd all read it.
in March, as the board knows, we discussed an updated work plan for submission of end results monitoring reports for the 16-17 school year, moving from a grade level based reporting structure to a content based reporting structure. As such, policy ER123E1, measures for end results, has been amended to change the monitoring cycle from reporting results by primary, intermediate, middle school, and high school to monitoring results across all grade levels by content areas including literacy, mathematics, and science. In addition, monitoring of end results 1, mission of the Lake Washington School District, has been changed from monitoring of graduation rates in January with other results being monitored in April to all applicable results being monitored in April. So the recommendation is that the board approves the first reading of the proposed policy changes. And that all this information can be found in tab 6.
So, any comments or any issues with the changes? Then you're ready to vote?
Yes.
Well, we don't vote because it's the first reading. It'll be on the consent agenda at the next meeting.
That's right. I just have one question to ask. In going through on number 1,
yes,
on the measure for end results, it states establish and monitor board approved. What it doesn't state there is monitor and assure, which the other ones do say. And as I was going through and looking at the end results and thinking of those as an evaluation component as they're to be used, that it would make more sense to maybe add the word assure, that we are making progress towards those.
Wait, where? I lost you. Tell me where specifically you want to amend the language.
The policy type, the first page.
You're right. Number 1 says end results will be monitored annually in April.
Accordingly, the CEO shall. That number 1 right there.
And monitor board-approved performance targets aligned with the student learning milestones. How did you want to amend the language?
To change it, establish, monitor, and assure. Because it aligns them with the other ones down below it, and it actually is an action concept, as opposed to we're not just looking at them, we're actually assuring that there's progress, and that's what we want to see.
Well, then it needs the whole clause, because monitor and assure in number 1, monitor and assure board-approved performance.
It'd be, I think, serious. Well,
I'm more than happy if you want to get rid of establish and just say monitor and assure. We didn't have them established before, but I do think we have to establish.
But assure what? The clause is incomplete. The grammar's a problem for me. If we're going to assure something, we have to assure something other than board-approved performance targets. You don't assure the targets.
May I just? I believe the way that this was written is exactly that. Number 1 was about establishing and monitoring, and then the assurance comes because really the rest of the things are about what actually is assured. Assure current year student performance shows progress relative to comparable districts. So I think originally like 2 through 8 is about what specifically gets, is that making sense?
Right, but what's missing there is when we do the performance targets, which were set for 2018, there's no point there of the assurance that we're getting towards those performance targets. We do the benchmarking against our other school districts, against the state in our subgroups, but not against the performance targets.
I don't think so.
Actually, so now I might understand your challenge with it. The first item, number 1, is about establishing the targets. But monitoring and assuring them is actually a separate activity than establishing.
Then I'm happy if we want to make it a second one, but I do think we need to be specific to the performance targets.
I think we can have it in the first one. I don't think it's a grammatical issue.
Establish, monitor, and assure. Take out the monitor.
And assure, I don't know, compliance with.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be assure compliance with. Assure. Something. You can't assure board-approved performance targets. That just doesn't work. So assure compliance with. Sort of put the whole clause in. I'm okay with that.
The goal is just to get to that. There is a purpose of doing so.
I grasp that, but I also understand the sort of the monitoring downstream. It's actually not reflecting back to these targets.
Right.
So yes, these targets also we have to assure progress towards these targets. So I would put in the whole
Almost
clause.
as if we want to establish and monitor the performance targets and then assure they align with.
Well, assure progress towards them. I mean, monitoring is one thing, but assuring progress towards them, it's directional.
That's good.
Can I have some
Maybe there's
actual language?
Maybe an amendment to the motion.
Yeah.
Wait, do we have to amend? How's this
No,
procedurally?
we're not voting on it. We just need language that we can agree on, and then it'll be on the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Okay.
This is the first reading.
You just had something I like.
Yeah, establish, monitor, and assure progress toward board-approved. So assure progress toward, 3 words.
Okay, do that, read the whole
Establish,
sentence.
comma, monitor, comma, and assure progress toward.
Oxford comma.
Yeah,
Are
I'm
you
good with
getting
the Oxford
this?
comma, thank you.
Tracy? Is that an agreement for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone's agreed? Okay. Anything else on this?
Must use the Oxford. No.
What?
We're discussing whether we have the Oxford comma or not, and we say yes.
Well, this is the time to decide. That's why we can read it again. Unless you're just joking.
We've already spent 1 minute too long discussing this.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right, so that amendment will be made. I think we're fine. I'm quite sure we don't have to vote on it because we're not voting on it. And it'll be on the consent agenda. Is this correct, Madam?
It's correct.
I'm trying to think of what
It's
we
correct,
call her.
Nancy.
Madam
It's correct.
Parliamentary.
Robert's Rules of Order have been advised. We're good.
All right. Thank you all. Next item. We're going to do some monitoring.
Yeah, so that's a good segue into our monitoring report for literacy. So this is our first ER report aligned to what the board discussed in March, aligned to content area. So we're looking at our whole span of K-12 performance, and of course the progress toward performance targets is part of the presentation. As the board saw, it was part of the written presentation that you received as well. So Matt is here to help present the literacy progress monitoring report. Thank you. I was just waiting for the visual to come on the screen. So what these monitoring reports do is intentionally connect ends or and our means or ELs. So this slide is just designed to remind the board of what we have in policy and governance policy with respect to ER 1, 2, and 3, and with respect to executive limitations. So tonight we'll focus on literacy and language. And Matt, you can go to the next slide. So it'll focus specifically on literacy and language aspects of ER2, academic thinking, skills and strategies, communication and collaboration skills, and local and global citizenship skills, which are part of ER3, and the parts noted on the screen with respect to EL7. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Matt. We've designed these presentations to last approximately 15 to 20 minutes, not including board questions. So go ahead, Matt.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's really exciting to present to you in this new format, which we're learning and getting accustomed to. Divided it into 3 areas. The first is, what do we mean by literacy? What is our literacy program at each of the levels, elementary through high school? The second part is, how are our students performing in our literacy program? And the third area is, what efforts are we taking towards improvement? So I'm going to cover reading, writing, listening, and speaking rather quickly. Those are the main components of what we mean by literacy. Reading, these are actual goals that come from our Common Core standards, and helping students build key ideas and details, integrate knowledge and ideas. You see below there the 5 key aspects that students learn in the primary grades: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The writing is, of course, using the ability to pre-write, draft, revise, edit, and publishing. Our listening and speaking, I was very moved. In fact, had the privilege of being in the hall to thank Sylvia, the Native American student who clearly is getting confidence in speaking. And if I see the embodiment of our interdisciplinary skills and attributes coming together with content, that was Sylvia saying to you, I've not done this before, and yet I'm getting my confidence to be able to speak in front of groups. Our elementary literacy program, as you could see there, is the little student on the left is looks like enjoying his Wonders literacy book. This happens to be, I thought this was a first grader, but maybe it's not. In general, our weekly time allows for about 9 to 10 hours of literacy instruction at the elementary level. I mentioned Wonders literature, which was adopted in 2013, comes in two components, the literature and then reading and writing workshop. The supporting resources include standards alignment, literacy proficiency scales, district-developed supplemental writing units. Our next DLA adoption is anticipated to be 2025, so it's a ways off. I also want to mention, before I leave on, is this was one of the very first truly aligned curriculum to the new Common Core standards that did more than just put the label on the outside of the book where they said, we're aligned to Common Core. And so we learned in that process you have to go beyond the cover. This book is truly aligned. At the middle level, our students are spending approximately 250 minutes a week, that's about 50 minutes a day, in literacy, and often blocked with social studies. The core courses use English, Language Arts 6, 7, and 8 are using Prentice Hall, both reading and writing. They also use a resource known as the Right Source. Novels are assigned, and we had teachers decide which of these novels would go with each level so that we're not stepping on each other's toes. That was adopted in 2006 and 7, and the next adoption is 2020. You see the students there at Kirkland Middle School in a Reader's Theater activity. High school, as you know, has 4 years or 4 credits of required coursework to graduate in ELA. 9 through 11 is focused on World and American Lit. Grade 12 includes the literature and written composition, and AP courses are offered in both 11th and 12th grade. They're using core materials called out there, the Literature and the Language Arts and the College Writer, Prentice Hall Literature, and then Literature and the Language Arts, the Prentice Hall Reader. They also have select novels by grade level. That was done in 2006. We anticipate the next implementation in 19. So how are our students performing? Wanted to mention that the slides that follow now have been taken from ER 2.3, which was sent to you a week ago and then updated, and I believe now is on your site in the current board folder. And so I wanted to highlight some of the ones that we were thinking were kind of key for tonight's presentation. By way of leading into that, I wanted to point out that, as you know, we have milestones and performance targets that you helped establish and which are shown here in very tiny print, but they are highlighted in the next slides, which will show that tiny print a little bit bigger. These slides show our baseline, our current, and our target performance for kindergarten, 3rd, and 5th. You can see that our students in 16 are in kindergarten, we're at the 89th percent, are at standard, our target being 95. 3rd grade, 81%, target 91, and 5th grade was at 85, and our target at 92. Continuing to unpack the tiny print, at 8 and 11, you can see last year, the spring 2016, 82% were at standard and 92% is our goal, 91% in the 11th grade, and set 97%. I was impressed by quite a jump from the baseline of our 11th graders from 73 and where they're headed, and they're really on track. We also have a goal that, as one of our other milestones, we look at how many credits students have earned by the end of 9th grade and also by the end of 10th grades. We want them to have 6 credits, which would be on track to graduate by the end of 9th grade, and you can see that 88% of our students had that, with our target being 92. In our 10th grade, 81% of our students are on target with 12 credits, and we're targeting, our performance target is 90%. This slide here is pulled to show how our students are doing across the grades.
I apologize for interrupting,
Yes.
but I also just wanted to, if you can back up one slide. On the credits, we're also specifically now tracking how much English credit of that is being earned. So in spring, that I just wanted to verify that data is specifically, included in this data is that the students earned their 1.0 credit of English.
That's correct.
Yes. Thank you.
This slide here breaks down into each of the grades their level performance from level 1 through level 4. You can see what strikes me is in the blue the significant number of students who are at level 4 across the system. This ELA performance is showing our comparison, as we normally do, to state. This is showing our comparison with our neighbor districts, so you see where we are in relation to Bellevue, Issaquah, North Shore, and state, where again, I would say in all areas except 8, we seem to be either at the same level as our neighbor districts or exceeding those. We then move into a series of slides that we said we would bring to you, is showing the achievement and opportunity gap as we look at the various benchmark-like grades. So you're going to see third grade highlighted here with all children and various groups and the achievement of those, each of those groups that you've seen before in our previous presentation to you.
Right. And just to interject here, the board will remember that we, in March, looked at some data on a chart like this that was data from the Puget Sound ESD. It was all regional data, and the board at that point indicated that it would be good to look at the data in this view specific to our district. The written ER report that you received did not include these. We've included them in the presentation tonight, and as Matt said, we've updated the written report, so these same data charts are included on the written report as well.
Will you send out the updated report?
Yes, it's posted to the current board order.
No,
I can
but
also send it to you, absolutely.
Send us the others so I keep a file of them.
I'm happy to do that.
In case my internet goes down.
Okay.
This was third grade, and then if you notice the performance at fifth grade, 8th, and 11th. Now, I'm not just going to do that just that fast, because when I did it that way, I was trying to get a sense of what happens over time. And though these are not identical cohort groups, they're not, I went and I started with a group, and I said, well, what actually happens to our African American black students? So starting with third grade, 50% of them were at standard. The black African American is at 66% subgroup by 5th, or at 5th, 62 in 8th, 74 in 11th. So there is a change over time, and I did the same thing with what's happening with Hispanic. 54% in 3rd, 65 in 5th, 62 in 8th, and 80% by 11th. It caused me to want to ask more questions. So it didn't make me celebrate and say, oh, we're doing great. It was more wanting to know more, knowing that they're not an exact cohort group. What is happening with those students, and are they the same? How many of those are the same students over time? Are they dropping out? Or are they staying with the system, and what's the actual impact that we're making? It's a question that just
So in 4 years, we might have a little closer answer to that question, because we could do the cohort also. But in the meantime, you could stack these up so we could see that better. I know it would take a long piece of paper, but still, because that is interesting. And I've noticed that in other reports that we are, in many ways, catching kids up by high school to some extent.
To some
it
extent.
seems.
To some extent. Across some of the areas that we're most concerned about, where there is significant gaps in achievement. I just chose 2 right there, the black African American and Hispanic. I did the same thing with low income. So if I start at 3rd grade, we were at 48%, 59%, 53%, 74%. So it's just an interesting dynamic of wanting to know more.
The one thing I would think of is I know that the State Board of Education set that cutoff for the ELA. So at 11th grade. So that would be a component that I think can be driving some of that. The 3rd, 5th, 8th, I think is more consistent. And then 11th, it gets a little, how that cutoff is set.
So, Matt, I have to compliment you on these graphs. This is really cool, and I'm with you that it just a few questions to try and understand what's going on. In this one, this is something where Siri and I have had a bit of a, I don't know what to call it, a religious difference in how to interpret some of the data, where some of the data we'd seen nationally suggested that on SAT scores, being minority individual and being a low-income individual both reduced scores, and you combine them, you got a much bigger difference. Here, not low-income students of color are performing statistically identically to not low-income, not students of color. The color of your student doesn't matter as long as they're not low-income. But low-income, we are seeing a difference, 65% versus 83%. And my immediate question here is, if you look at your 3 green bars, which of those green bars has the biggest effect on your kids? Is limited English. And the question is, does the low-income student of color, is that an effect of kids who are Hispanic, who have limited English proficiency, or is that a function of the color of their skin? It's where do we have leverage on the system? I'm very excited about these because I do think that this is something where, what do we need to focus on? Getting English proficiency, no question, that's an important place to go. Also, low income, well, we can't exactly change the parental income, but focusing resources on that. It's interesting, if you flip back to 3rd grade, there was a difference. I mean, the gap, we closed that as a district between 3rd grade and 11th grade. We have an impact as a district. The kids are still low income, but we're closer. The gap does narrow. This is good news overall. I'm very pleased with that. It's still a gap that I worry about, but the trend is going in the right direction. If we can put more resources into closing it even further, I'll be even happier. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. I know this is a lot of data, and it's 3-dimensional. So flipping back and forth between those 3 slides, I do that all day, every day. So thank you.
Sure.
The other thing that jumps, though, is you do see the change from 3rd to 5th. You don't see that shift from 5th to 8th. And I think that's another component that we need to be thinking about, because those are the middle school years, and that's another component that we really need to target, because that's that move into high school. I still would be very cautious with the 11th grade ELA, just because of how those cutoffs are set. I wouldn't use those as a standard to look at. I would look at our younger grades. And then I would use the SATs and ACTs, honestly. The PSAT would actually be a better one, because that's our universal at 10th grade.
Yeah, the 5th to the 8th, to me, it's like you've got a downshift across the board.
It is a downshift. I noticed that the African American went from 66 to 50, Hispanic 65 to 54, limited English 36, it went up to 49, sort of an anomaly there. Low income was 59 and it went to, I'm sorry, did it wrong, didn't I? What am I doing here?
Yeah, it would be easier if it was laid out all on.
There it is. Yeah.
Except for people who do mental gymnastics, but it's still really.
I was just trying to say, yes, there is a dip. The dip that I saw did go between 5 and 8, and then back up again. So it does 3,
We've
5, dip, and
consistently
then up.
seen that in other tests through my years on the board. So it has been out there as an issue. Is they go like this. For a variety of reasons, but it's all stuff to keep working on.
Absolutely. I wanted to give you some information about special ed students and comparables in terms of how are our students doing in relation to other districts around us. So it gives you a sense of comparability. You could see we're either even in some places or slightly below Bellevue at 8th grade, more than slight, but below in 8th grade and higher in 11th. This is our DIBELS end of year in ELA when you're comparing non-special ed with special ed. Our ELL comparables between districts. our DIBELS end of the year when we're comparing non-ELL with ELL.
And that's just not just DIBELS, just to
That's not.
clarify. So it's
Yeah.
DIBELS at kindergarten,
It's-
and then
thank
the
you.
measures are SBA for 3, 5, 8,
Thank
and
you.
11. Mhm.
I had to look at that twice.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to make sure everybody's following
Oh,
along.
wait, Dibbles, 8th grade? Yeah,
DIBELS
right.
is used in K1 and 2.
Right, I know that.
Yes.
It's the way it's laid out.
And so
Yes.
one of the things that we've always known as a challenge for you to pull out of the data is what's defined as an ELL student. Is it a student who's currently an ELL or is it an ELL graduate? And that's something where I'd still like to see that added to this slide as the performance of kids who were in ELL and are no longer in transitioned. I really have my fingers tightly crossed that they're indistinguishable for non-ELL. But, well, please pleasantly surprise me.
The other piece, though, that's interesting is you note in kindergarten that gap is not there, and that's still using ELL. But you note in third, fourth, it continues. A lot of that, I would assume, and Kelly's here, so she could probably correct this if I'm wrong, is that's content is another component that's driving that, not just language, because they have to learn to read and utilize that in different places. So that gap is harder to fill.
Have you seen DIBELS?
I have.
Reading nonsense syllables means that everybody doesn't speak the language of DIBELS. So I can totally see how ELL would do just as well as
So
English.
it's a good thing, is what I'm saying. It's that there's just another issues that we have to deal with as they get older of how you deal with not having a content or framework on how the information is being presented and having to work with those cultural differences that come with our very international population.
Let me move to what are some of the strategies we're doing to either maintain and or improve and close some of those gaps that you saw in earlier slides. We always start with something you've seen, I believe, at the last extended March study session, which was a graphic we used with you to help us conceptualize what do we mean by interventions, which interventions are we applying at Tier 1 that are universal for everyone, what are the interventions we're using that are for targeted populations and targeted groups. I'm not going to read all the ones on the left, but I do want to highlight a couple of them. The work that's happening in teacher professional growth and evaluation and the work around their continuous improvement planning, the work around their teams, that they're looking at data more and more and using that data in regular intervals to be able to say, are we on track with these groups of students, including subgroups, or do we need to make some instructional changes? I think has continued to become a point of emphasis for us. So I think of those areas on the left that are universally happening. You can see in the targeted domains the work that's being done, as you've been hearing over time, AVID, the work that's being done, as you mentioned, Kelly, who happens to be sitting here with the McKinney-Vento efforts to catch all kids and to ensure that they're receiving services. The work that she's doing with other agencies across the district in terms of wraparound services. Those are the areas around family in terms of helping make sure that we're engaging with families and connecting with them and in connecting with those students so that they're engaged in school. The work that we're doing around disability, and you've been hearing the efforts around our special education program review. The work to ensure that we're looking at strategies that are known to help students when we're working together around co-teaching. You're having the general ed teachers, special ed teachers working collaboratively on some common goals and common work. Efforts in poverty, Head Start, Ready Start, Title I. The work around ELL, as Kelly has valiantly tried more and more strategies. I'm giving you quite a few kudos tonight, Kelly, in terms of bringing new strategies on board with our summer programs to make sure that we're capturing kids and doing outreach intentionally, so that's keeping that growth occurring between levels. And of course, the cultural competency piece that we're beginning, and you've heard Tracy speak to in our last meeting, and the equity work that we've begun and that will continue in the district. We also have some specific things that I wanted to highlight around literacy, and gave some elementary examples, and it may seem a little odd to mention standards-based teaching and assessing, but it's not. When you think about, when you start with that as your prime foundational work, everyone is looking at what is it we want students to know and be able to do, and how are we assessing, are they on track, and that's common and guaranteed for all students. I mentioned the PCC work that's getting stronger with progress monitoring of how students are doing so I can adjust that instruction. The use of DIBELS data in the early grades where we know it's critical to catch kids before they hit third grade and to monitor their progress. The work around small group instruction. Elementary has been very focused with writing instruction these last 2 years with the help of the University of Washington Center for Ed Leadership. I was talking to one of our specialists today. Right now we're piloting writing resources for teachers, and one of the things we asked our elementary teachers was, don't use the materials unless you're really wanting to give us feedback and to be a part of this pilot. And the specialist said we have 80% of our elementary teachers signed on to be in a pilot field test, which is pretty remarkable. I said, that's a tipping point. I mean, you've got the bulk of the group is with you, and it's in the first year. At the secondary level, I want to highlight some really exciting work going around lesson and unit planning design. This is where we're really looking at how do we bring all the pieces together and connect the dots of helping teachers think about, when I'm planning my unit, what do I want kids to know by the end of this? How are they going to demonstrate that? What does that look like? And that's pretty exciting work. And of course, the sheltered instructional observation protocol work that's been going on now for several years. That's my presentation, and that was 23 minutes.
I like that new format.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. You know, there's a big team of people who work together to put these together. We work as a team. Matt, Tim Krieger,
That's absolutely right.
who's helping us to mine data differently and display it in different improved ways.
Mike Van Orden, our director of curriculum, our
director of teaching and learning. So I just want to acknowledge that there's many people working on the presentations, and then we're refining them before they come to you. So appreciate the feedback, and the next...
Excellent. That was an excellent one.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you very much. And it's a good segue.
But we didn't check and see if there was any more questions or comments.
There is. Sorry. Part of the reason I had the question on the performance targets, when I look at the performance targets we've set for 2018 and look at the growth and the expectation for growth in the next 2 years, my question is, what is the likelihood we're going to succeed? Because that is a lot more growth in many of those. Some of those, I think the 6 credits and the 12 credits, you see very extensive growth in very short time. I'm a little more concerned when you look at the other grades. And so there's just some question there.
Sure. I think that's a valid question, and we had that conversation to a certain extent when the board set the performance targets. And in looking at past performance and our trajectory, the likelihood that we're going to meet those performance targets is not high. Are we making progress? Yes. Are we seeing growth? That's the other problematic piece about the performance targets is it's different groups of students, new groups of students every year. So I think there's an opportunity to, when the strategic plan sort of comes due for being refined, it's strategic plan through 2018, there's an opportunity to rethink and, rediscuss what those performance targets ought to be, and should we look potentially, now that the state's back to using student growth percentiles, is there an opportunity to look at growth instead of performance, or instead of comparing different groups of students every year, we're looking at growth over time. But I mean, the truth is, I think, to answer your question, the likelihood that we'll reach those performance targets is very low.
I would concur, given that most of them are 2 years out. But that wasn't where I wanted to go. The piece I'm really interested in, just for the next cycle, I love the new format. You are improving dramatically. It's giving me more of the data that it's addressing the questions that I care about. How are we doing? Where are the gaps? I really love being able to see things third through whatever. I mean, whether 11th is valid or not, I like being able to see that transition. Love the new format. The only thing on literacy that I'd sort of put on my wish list for next year, you had SPED broken out for specific learning disabilities. If you can break out the dyslexia population, that's probably our most frequent SLD. I'd love to see those numbers on how we're doing for those students when we do literacy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Something for the board to consider at some point in looking through how ENDS results are utilized in different places and how it's done. One of the components that I've seen and ones that I have looked at is there is a summary evaluation that's provided as sort of, here was what the board saw, and these were areas that worked really well. These are areas that might be something we want to look at doing. It would be helpful as we look at doing this, because these are the summative evaluation that's utilized at the end of the year, is to be able to do those components as we go, as opposed to summarizing at the very end of it. I think that would be a helpful component. So then the board's sort of in agreement, here's what we saw, this is what we all agreed to, and then it goes forward from there. So it's sort of a summary paragraph of saying, what were the key points out of this literacy piece?
And who are you suggesting summarize it?
I mean, we would have to, and then agree.
Okay. It's an interesting idea. Why don't we try it for this? Maybe we could just add on to that. Maybe we could rotate taking turns who would do it, and then we would circulate it.
I mean, it's the idea of taking whatever conversation took place and sort of those high points and putting it out and then just sort of clarifying it as a final step.
I think we should at least try doing it.
Does that mean you're offering to do it this time?
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sure, I will.
There we go. Well, let's try it and see.
Well, if we fail, let's not blame Eric.
I'm happy to support with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So we also, as you know, have been doing program reports, and we happen to have intervention services and ELL programs as our program report this evening. And Kelly is here. John is going to be actually presenting the report, but as I said, Kelly obviously contributed much of the information and data that's a part of tonight's report as she oversees intervention services. These reports are also connected to our ERs and ELs. So I'm just waiting for the presentation to come on the screen. But just like with our, kind of official ER presentation that you just saw for literacy, these program presentations are meant to keep that connection between ends and means at the forefront as well, because much of ER 2-3 is reflected in means as well as different components of EL. So tonight, the focus is in intervention services. We've got about 10 minutes for this presentation. We wanted to re-show this visual that you just saw because much of our achievement opportunity gap closing efforts are reflected through intervention services. So you'll hear that tonight. You're going to see the connections between ER 2 and 3, specifically literacy and math, as well as the highlighted interdisciplinary skills and attributes that are part of the intervention services and our intervention programs, and then highlighted on the right the specific parts of EL7 that are addressed as part of the presentation. So with that, I will hand it over to John, and he'll get us going for about 10 minutes.
Okay, I just, as usual, 2 of the PowerPoints came up and 1 did not. Did you get this PowerPoint up?
Sorry, I'm not
Oh, you don't have a computer right now. Did anybody else get this one to come up?
No, right now.
Also, the link from the main page has not working again.
Okay.
So, all right.
Okay, but everybody can see it on their screen, so we'll go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Well, I'm very excited to be here tonight to talk about intervention services and ELL programs and all of the different components that are encompassed in this program. Kelly Pease is the director, intervention services, that oversees and really leads all of this work and these efforts. And it was so nice to have our Native American, Alaska Native programs presented to you tonight as evidence of truly what an amazing service that students are provided as we collaborate with our neighboring districts.
and just what a remarkable program that is. And so you can see tonight we're going to talk about our safety net services, ELL, homeless services. I will touch briefly on Native American, Alaska Native programs and services, and conclude by highlighting our Title I programs and services. Starting with our safety net services, safety net is a term that we in Lake Washington have coined. Although safety net services are provided through both local and state funds, you can see there we serve many students at both the elementary and secondary levels. It's really for students that aren't meeting grade level standards, but aren't qualified typically for other services. And so you can see there the program supports. Students are receiving additional small group instruction, extension of the school day. They receive this through highly qualified teachers, and we really have a focus on providing quality professional development and ensuring that that professional development, anytime we bring someone new on board, is provided to them. In the secondary, we also have credit recovery for students, both embedded within the day and also, as you heard at the first program report of the school year, talking about our summer programs and that whole credit recovery opportunity we had for students. Just wanted to give the board an idea of how many students we've served over the last 3 years in safety net programs. You can see this last year, 2015-16, more students were served at all levels. In safety net services, we're really trying to ground the outcomes in a very intentional focus on data, professional development around the content, and high-quality curriculum tools to have high-quality instruction. And we think if we have those pieces in place, that student success is going to be the natural outcome. Highlighting some of the work that's being done at the middle level, not only is it work in these areas, such as in math using the new ALEX tool for adaptive assessment to really know where students are performing. The SRI assessment tool, again, an adaptive measure to understand where students are performing in reading. But that also aligns with, in math particularly, our recent curriculum adoption, so we can really target what students need. For our middle level students, one of the challenges we've had is actually having students participate in safety net programs. And so with some additional feedback from teachers, they're actually rebranding and retitling some of these courses, such as Extended Math, Extended Literacy versus the title of Safety Net. And so things like that we're trying to do, knowing students need those supports and just making sure that they see a pathway there for them to be able to access. Moving into our services for our English language learners, I wanted to highlight that we are in a transition period right now for how our students are qualifying, really the assessment tool that's used. We used to have the Washington, the WELPA, and it's moving to the
English Language Proficiency Assessment.
And moving to the English Language Proficiency Assessment, which is really more of a consortium, more than just Washington, beyond Washington State, that's using the ELPA for measuring performance. It also then aligns with a set of standards for English language proficiency that this can then be benchmarked to, and it actually provides teachers with actual resources and strategies that they can use in the general education classroom just to support students. And so our English language learners, we receive state and local funding for that. We have K-12 students receiving support. The data on the right is the number of students assessed from May to October of 2016, and that total number is 1,668 students assessed. Of those, 796 were kindergarten students. So a significant number of students being assessed for ELL services in our early grades, with our first through fifth grade students, about 526 students. So you can see the majority of assessments are taking place at our early elementary and elementary levels.
And just a quick reminder that students are assessed based on the home language survey. So families complete the home language survey, and that dictates whether or not they're assessed for ELL services.
Mm-hmm. Another aspect of our ELL program is students that exit the program but still aren't demonstrating grade level standard performance on our state assessments receive services. One of the questions that's been asked over the years is, do students grow? How are students doing in program? And so this shows you at all grade levels, green being students showing growth as measured by the WELPA, meaning they've actually made positive growth on 2 assessment points, with the red being no growth. Aggregating all of that data together, you can see many students are demonstrating growth. We do have a few students showing no growth, but I think this is a positive indicator of our ELL program. When thinking about our annual assessment of students, because we look at, do students continue to qualify for services on an annual basis? In 2015, we used the WELPA as our assessment tool, and in 2016, we used the ELPA. You can see it's very similar outcomes, with about 32 to 34% of our students exiting the program, 66 to 68% continuing in the program. One of the questions that's also been asked is, how do students do once they exit our ELL program? These aren't the same students being represented here in the data. This is current students and their performance on the 2016 SBA in English Language Arts, and students that have been exited for 2 years, how did they perform on our SBA in English Language Arts? Same data for math. I think similar to what Matt mentioned earlier, it leads to probably more questions than answers, but it's definitely a start at looking at the data. Another aspect of the intervention services is our support for our homeless students. That is under the McKinney-Vento Act. It's a requirement of all school districts, and we gladly take on that responsibility. And so you can see here that, homeless student support, the number of students have increased over the years, and Kelly reminded me of this as we were thinking about this presentation. We don't know if it's that we have more students that are homeless, or we've gotten better at identifying homelessness. And so it's been a big effort over the last 5 or 6 years to really make sure that our schools know the indicators and observables, know the things that students might say, and what it looks like to be homeless. Because to be homeless doesn't just mean you don't have a home. It could mean that you're living with someone else, you're living in a motel or a hotel. So there's a number of different things, and so providing support for these students is critical, because living in homelessness, we know that's a key indicator for failure. And being able to provide the supports, at times it's transportation, and other additional supports is highly important. And so here you can see some of the data for 2015-16 where students reported they were living. I also want to highlight that part of our homeless support for our homeless students is providing academic support. Last year at LifeWire, it's a domestic violence shelter, we actually pushed in academic supports at that location. Kelly reports we're also working with Treehouse and Friends of Youth to be able to provide academic services at those locations as well.
John, can you define doubled up?
When a family moves in or lives with another family.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. And how do I follow up the presentation you've seen already? Other than highlighting that I had the privilege of working with Mary Wilbur when I was in special services and saw her in action, and she is an advocate for students, she's an advocate for culture, and she's an advocate for kids being the best that they can be. And so what an honor it is to have her work with our students and to hear her talk so eloquently about yes, and Mary is still here. And so, and I will also say this, she holds kids accountable because they know that she loves them and she wants the absolute best for them. And so, but to see that in action and see her interact with families and students and understand the resources and supports that are available to our Native students is really, it's remarkable. And so you saw the information that, or heard the information that was presented earlier. It is a collaboration with 2 of our neighboring districts and really is a benefit to our students. Our Title I programs in support.
Why do they have to be in a federally recognized tribe? We know there's issues about that. Would you like me to answer? I would, because...
Mary, why don't you come up to the microphone?
I mean, I thought we had local... I mean, even the...
Yeah, in Washington State, there are 29 federally recognized tribes. Across the country, there are 567 federally recognized tribes. There is an enrollment form that a student has to fill out. It's called a 506 Title VI enrollment form. And so either the student, the parent, or the grandparent, it can go back 3 generations, have to have an enrollment form to be eligible for the Title VI program. And so it has to be a federally recognized tribe. It's from, we get funding from the Department of Education. In the Department of Education is Office of Indian Education, and that's where the form comes from.
So we have several that I'm aware of, I'd get the names wrong, of tribal groups that are not federally recognized in our area alone.
Exactly, like Duwamish is not federally recognized. I'm trying to think. Chinook is not federally recognized. Snoqualmie tribe was not federally recognized, but in 1999 they received their federal recognition. So there are tribes fighting to become federally recognized, and that's a process that you go through with the United States government at the federal level. Question?
But what can we do with this? Can't we get those students into this program if they're in our area?
Those students are, I don't turn away anyone from our program for getting title funds from the Department of Education. They do have to meet a requirement. We do have children that are from Canadian tribes. We do have children that are from unrecognized tribes, like Duwamish, other tribes across the country that are fighting for their federal recognition. Those children, if they come to our program, I do not turn them away. We do receive funding from the school district, a per pupil funding that the school district, because of our interdistrict agreements, help with our program. I also write grants. I talked about the Gates grant that just helped with our language restoration, exploration, with our naming. So we get funds elsewhere, but our funds from the federal government can only be used for federally recognized tribes. And that's just the law.
Right, I understand that, and I actually hadn't put together that our because I think of it as our program,
right,
was so federally driven, but I just think we need to make sure, I mean, to me, that's a priority, that all our kids, whether they're federally recognized or not, are able to participate.
And they do, because I would not turn anyone away, from our program. There are children that are in our program, like I said, from Canadian tribes, or maybe they don't meet the blood requirement to get enrollment in their tribe. I think in this country, they have an enrollment, a blood quantum. It doesn't mean you're not Native, and I'm not going to turn those people away. Relocation has put them here, has taken them away from their homelands, and we will service. Lake Washington School District, Bellevue School District, and North Shore School District will service all children. And you know, even if they're not Native and they want to come to our program, they're welcome to come, because this is about teaching Native values, Native culture, Native history for all. It's not just for Native, it's for all. So I promise, Nancy, that we will do that, and I will not, the Native Ed program in this district will not turn away any child who wants to participate and partake.
Thank you. Okay, that just really...
If I could just ask one favor then on this presentation, if the students served could be updated to include that we do not exclude any student who's not federally recognized. I think that's just, if somebody goes to look at it, that they also capture that and know that. I think that's, thank you, is all I can say. I think that's fabulous that we broaden that perspective and we recognize that, and it's great to hear.
Thank you, sorry. It's just like, I know what's going on with the controversies.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Mary. In talking about concluding with our Title I programs, as you know, Title I is a federally funded program. In Lake Washington School District, we use those funds at the elementary level. We have 4 schools that are identified as school-wide Title I schools. That's Robert Frost, Albert Einstein, John Muir, and Rose Hill Elementary. And students served, it's all students in those schools are served. How do we provide support for those schools? Title I facilitators, we ensure highly qualified teachers and instructional assistance supports. I'm going to skip over professional development, as the next slide really highlights all of the professional development, or most of the professional development that we've provided. But parent and community engagement, it's a requirement of Title I, but it's also an opportunity to knowing that how important it is to have our parents engaged in their children's education. We also provide summer academic supports at our title schools in just that ongoing continued academic support. Knowing that it is critically important that the best instruction occurs for the students that need it the most. You can see here all of the different professional learning and opportunities that our schools have had, reading and writing, and PBIS, which is really looking at a holistic approach to ensuring that there's positive behavior throughout the school, and then understanding how to use data to drive our instruction. All 4 of our title schools have received training and resources to implement data processes. And so that concludes our presentation around intervention services.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions from the board or comments?
Yes. Question. For the, bear with me, the homeless student support services we have, I saw that for students served, you have, it was slide 20 in particular I'm asking about. Doubled up with friends or relatives because they cannot find or afford housing. Does that include, I guess, children who are in foster care, who are maybe with a relative?
I'm going to turn to my colleague. Yeah, that'd be great.
Wait till you come to the mic.
Just to make sure we give an accurate.
So with the passing of Every Student Succeeds Act, it pulled into federal law, which we are, as of October 1st, implementing per requirement to serve students who live in foster care in a similar fashion to those that were homeless or homeless in previous years. So we'll be working closely with Friends of Youth in particular, where many of the students there are either in foster or awaiting foster care in a temporary situation. So we'll be providing all of the lunch supports, the transportation, and all other necessary things for students in foster care, just the same as we do for our students experiencing homelessness.
And previously, it's accurate that those foster care students weren't considered homeless.
Right. Previous years they weren't.
They're
Yep.
considered homeless.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That was my understanding. Thank you.
But they're not necessarily homeless. That doesn't mean they don't need services, but they're not homeless, hopefully. That's why they're in foster care.
Well, and that's why the definition's so important there, because if you're, you could argue that if you're living with a friend in their home, you're not technically homeless, but technically you are homeless according to the definition of homeless under McKinney-Vento.
As we think about students living in foster care, we need to think about that those oftentimes are temporary placements, which play out in a similar fashion to being homeless, where it's disrupted, they've had disrupted schooling, and
Right, I agree in terms
yeah.
of the services.
Sure. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thanks, John, Kelly, Matt. A number of people help to put these presentations together.
Just one question. On the WELPA, ELPA, the graph you showed where you showed the majority improved, and then there was a section that didn't on the growth.
Was that the kindergarten?
The pie
or-
chart was the pie chart.
150 something. Yeah.
What do we do for those kids?
Specifically or holistically?
Holistically is fine, because each child, I don't need to hear the specifics on each, but more of the idea being that if it didn't work that 1 year and there wasn't, what's the shift that we do to see that we get growth the next year?
And so we could either answer it now or we could do a follow-up on that, because it seems like a pretty detailed response.
Yeah, in general, I would just offer, just like if we see students who aren't making progress, they're remaining in level 1 at their, based on SBA. Part of this SIP process is looking specifically at which students aren't achieving, and then what do we need to do differently. So with our ELL students who aren't growing, it's specific. What were their programs? What did their services look like that year? What do we think contributed to them not growing, and what do we need to do differently the next year in terms of service, in terms of additional intervention, additional support? I mean, that's the general answer. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Superintendent report.
Great. So we have one more brief presentation tonight in the form of superintendent report, and Assistant Superintendent Barbara Posthumus is here to share with us an enrollment and demographic update. So we just have a few slides to share, and as soon as we can see the presentation on the screen, I know we see it up there. We see it here. Okay, I will hand it right over to Barbara. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to go over some enrollment and demographics, show you some statistics and demographics, talk about our projection methodology. So this provides some details about our enrollment changes since 2012, and you can see that we were growing by almost 3% for the first few years, and then in 15-16 we grew by 4.2%, and about 1% of that was due to our skills center change. And then this year, I want to note that all the data that I'm reporting here is still preliminary. Last Monday was our October count, but schools had until today to get their final numbers in, and then we have a few more days to compile that data.
Why would they do the October count on a major religious holiday?
It is always the first school day in October, so I think, I'm not sure if that holiday changes. I don't think it's always.
It's not attendance.
Yeah, and it's not attendance. That's true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not attendance. It is it's who's enrolled.
We're one of those different states.
Yes, we are fortunately not one of those states that is based on attendance. So that's only the first 4 days in September. If you don't attend, you're not counted. So
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
That's all right.
I'm always hearing about these states that
pay for every attendance on every single day, which is mind-boggling in terms of the accounting. But
Right. So, our preliminary October enrollment right now is about 28,991 students, and again, that will be updated once we have the final counts. And what's also interesting is while we have grown 4.2%, our neighbors, Bellevue, Issaquah, and North Shore, are growing about 1 to 2%. So they are not seeing the growth that we are seeing. And these figures do not include Running Start. That's kind of outside what we call our P223. And that Running Start is also growing we've grown from about 300 students to 437 in the last few years. Same time period, about 48% in Running Start. So this chart shows, I'm not sure happened to this chart, but this chart, there's lines have disappeared. This chart shows our change from what we budgeted, what we planned, to our preliminary enrollment. And so we always budget conservatively so that we do not plan for revenue that we do not receive. So we budget conservatively and then put contingency in our budget in case our enrollment does come in higher. So this year our enrollment did come in higher, about 450 students, higher than planned. Now this is head count. We are funded on average annual FTE, and we will have projections on an idea of where we are compared to average annual FTE closer to the once our counts are finalized. We're also going to need to assess the impact of all-day kindergarten on our enrollment projections and our long-term projections, because we have kind of a new going forward, we'll be seeing a change in how many first grade students we get from, I think we enrolled more kindergartners this year than normal, and then we'll see how that impacts our first grade numbers the next year. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. So this is our, just showing our October 1 head count since 2006. So you can see we were slowly increasing through 2010, and then nice steady upward climb since then. So last year we started showing the 6 largest districts in 2 years. So in 2 years ago, in 2 years, if these, again, this is preliminary, this shows, because I don't have October numbers yet for all the other districts, so this is September, so it's very preliminary, and if these numbers hold, we will have grown from 6th largest to 3rd largest district in the state in 2 years.
Sorry, no, I was just projecting out from trends on us in Tacoma last year. I was sure that we were going to beat them. It was just a question of what was the margin, and it's actually bigger than the margin I expected. Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't squeaked past them. We're 1,000 students more than Tacoma. And, people think of Tacoma as a big district. So
well, and I had thought they were growing. So.
You got to make.
Well, yeah, and again, it's hard because September is always lower than October, so it's hard to compare 15, 16 October to 16, 17 September. But you can see that Tacoma did slightly decline, from 14, 15, 15, 16. So we'll see where their October numbers end up. But
there's a lot of headaches from this kind of growth too.
Yeah. Don't get me started. But you got to find your excitement somewhere.
Well, it's better than flatlining or decreasing, I guess.
But it also justifies the need for the continued push for bond.
Oh, there's no question of that. Sorry, Barbara. This is late chatter.
That's all right. So next few slides, I'll show some just demographics. So these pie charts show change since 2011 in some of our ethnicity categories. So if you look at our Asian population, it's grown from almost 18% to almost 26% in 5 years. And then our Hispanic Latino has grown from 9.3% to 10.3%, and our 2 or more races growing from 5.1% to 7.4%. So, and the other categories are very slightly, just some small changes.
And these are self-reported or?
Yes, this is how they. So John covered some information about our ELL program, but this slide focuses on enrollment change, and we have seen a significant increase in our ELL population. This represents an 85% increase in our ELL population over 5 years. And Kelly shared some another interesting statistic that we have 2,300 kindergartners, and 30% of the kindergartners qualify for ELL. So 30% of our new kindergartners qualify. And you can also see the last column shows the percentage of our total enrollment. So even though we are growing, the percentage of ELL is growing even more. The next slide is special education, and this is not growing as significantly. So we've grown about 5.7% over 5 years, and you can see that actually as a percentage of our total enrollment, it has slightly declined. So, and just in the footnote, the total enrollment does include our birth to 2 and preschool, but as a percentage of our enrollment, it's K-12 to K-12 comparison.
Is there a reason for that 4% growth in 2013-14? That seems significant, quite high.
Yeah, that was a big jump that year, and you can see that it didn't continue. I'd have to go back and dig into the data to see if there was any specific reason.
Just wondering if anybody remembered, but no, it's not worth looking into. It's just very curious.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is our enrollment projection methodology. So we use King County and school district birth certificates to project our future kindergarten classes. So the number of students that are born 5 years later should be our kindergarten students. And we have a pretty steady pattern of what percentage of King County births come to Lake Washington. So we use that in our projections, and then we use a percentage change in student enrollment, or what we call cohort factors, how many students we receive from kindergarten to first grade to second grade, and each grade level after that, and that projects our other grade levels. And then in addition, we are tracking new housing developments. We track them from city and county permitting data. We're looking at recently built housing developments to determine how many students. Not only do we look at we take projected developments that are coming on board, and then use past developments and how many students have come out of those past developments, and that is used to project how many students will come out of new developments. And we're tracking over 99 new developments right now, and I'm sure most of you that have driven around our district have seen the trees down and the new development signs going up, and so we are tracking all of those to include that in our projections. Our long-term facility planning task force made some recommendations as far as our enrollment projections, asked us to do some small refining of our projection methodology, to use additional tools, information, and expertise. And they asked us to plan to a range of possible scenarios, and what that means is kind of doing a high, low, medium scenario, high, medium, low scenario, and then ensure appropriate connections to cities and planning commissions when we're looking at all that housing development. So what we're doing to implement those recommendations, we are incorporating census tract data, again, looking at more closer using census tract to look at the births that are actually occurring in our district. We're engaging a demographer to review current methodology and make recommendations, and studying student generations by housing type. So, there's apartments. We have been putting multifamily all kind of in one category, but the demographer will look to see are apartments generating different numbers than condos, than those the different, or then townhomes or things like that. So we'll be looking at that. We have hired a dedicated enrollment specialist position, and we are in the process of posting a facilities, communications, and community engagement manager. So that concludes my presentation. So any questions?
What is an enrollment specialist?
So it's a new position that position will be focused on working on our enrollment actions, doing our enrollment reporting, and working closer with the cities to make sure that we have the information we need to include future development in our planning, and just doing all the related number crunching, working on with the boundary process. So it's a position that is in the Business Services Department.
And looking at the statistics and all the demography and all those
And
components.
statistics,
and
correct.
Dealing with migration and those components that
Mhm.
are built in. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I mean, the only other question I would have is, as we've had these enrollments, and it looks like, 1,100 more students from what I could tell looking at your numbers. How will this now feed into the capital facilities plan going forward as to how that, our current projects underline and what's going on? I'd be interested to know how that's going to.
So every year we update our projections based on our current enrollment and then look at new housing developments. And so we will be continuing to update our projections based on these new numbers. And the tricky part for me, who likes patterns and history, is we've lost our kindergarten to first grade pattern. So we're going to start over, and it's going to take us 3 years to figure out where that trend is going to. So we're going to have to kind of make some educated guesses about where we're going to end up in first grade. That's kind of and then but every year we're refining our projections, and we're going to continue to do these things and others. So
where my question is, as I know we're looking at building, and we've been doing all the presentations and the discussions, and I live in North Redmond on Education Hill, so I see the development and the children. So there's a lot of questions around how is that impacting even what we're currently doing, and do we need to be paying attention to that? Is the growth, knowing that growth might not be geographically spread out equally throughout our district, have we looked at the geographic impacts and what that means to what we're currently doing, and how that would impact what we do?
Yeah, I mean, we did take a quick look at, the data by learning community, and at this time, the growth this year was pretty evenly spread amongst the learning community, but we certainly will refine that to see if there are, and that's what our demographer is also looking at, is of the new students that are enrolled this year. What's the pattern of where they're coming from? Where are people moving to? And is it new housing? Is it turnover of old neighborhoods?
I mean, I would just also be interested in how we're going to apply that. I mean, I guess that's what my next step is, the application of that into our analysis process currently going forward. So that might be something for the future.
Do you mean specifically in preliminary
I'm thinking we're building on
for
North
2018?
Redmond and Redmond Ridge. We're actually building. We're building at 550 right now at both those elementary schools. Is that going to be an adequate component, or do we need to be paying attention that something's different up there than it used to be, knowing that the growth is so high? So I'm just saying, I think we need to look where that growth is and what's happening, and then be able to also look at that in regards to 2018. And I'd like to just hear where that is at and where that growth is.
Okay.
Once we have a better handle on that, I'd like to be able to see, too, the numbers be shared with the communities so they understand where our growth is coming from, where it's at, where we project what geographic regions, if you will, are growing faster or slower than the other, so they'll understand the reasoning for the placements of the schools. They will also then have a better appreciation when we start to look at redistricting. And I think all those numbers, as you build that awareness, then it's less of a shock, an awe factor when it comes into the implementation. and everyone kind of says, oh, okay, I get it. And there's less animosity. Or, why are they getting a school while we aren't? That sort of thing. I mean, we all know that there are certain segments of the district that think, well, we're growing. Yeah, but they're growing even more. So.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris can be very happy tonight and have a little party. You can be very happy tonight and have a little party.
Yes.
You were right with your projection. And he's not the professionals that are doing it that are right. Thank you. Anything else on your superintendent report? Legislative report?
Just a few things. The Supreme Court did make their announcement and do their decision, which was basically they continue to hold the legislature in contempt, and they will continue finding them $100,000 a day until there is a final budget. Then they will revisit this one more time. So that is currently where it stands. But there you go. The Legislative Assembly took place the end of September. So that was done in Spokane. There were about 100 districts out of the 295 districts represented. We covered over 100 resolutions to look at that. Those priorities will be coming out probably in the next month. That will be good to look over those as we do our legislative agenda. That's sort of the key. They also had the opportunity to speak to the two OSPI candidates, Aaron Jones and Chris Reichdahl, who are both running. So that was a nice opportunity, and I can get you information on that. As well as the Common Schools Trust Fund, so the Public Lands Commissioner. I had no idea, honestly, I have to admit, that part of our school construction assistance matching funds comes through our public trust lands.
And in our Constitution from the very beginning.
It's actually in the Seattle Times today. They actually speak to the Common Schools Trust lands.
They had the two candidates for that also?
Unfortunately, only one could come, so we were able to hear from one. But it is something, pay attention to it. The Public Lands Commissioner is important, especially to our schools, how they generate revenue off that land helps to support the constructions of our schools and our matching funds. So just wanted to put that out there because that was a new piece for me when I sat there. And that is really it for now.
Okay, thank you. Board follow-up, anything you want followed up on?
This is a relatively minor one, but I've gotten a ninth grader who I'm sure took Algebra 1 in 7th grade, and with the discipline concern that came up tonight, I don't want to talk about the specifics of it, but I really would like to have someone who's in the know clarify to me, because I am almost certain that your Algebra 1 grade in 8th grade doesn't come up onto your high school transcript. The kid seems to be afraid of something that I don't think actually happens, and I want to make sure that I have that correct.
You can choose to bring it up.
Who in the hell brings up Algebra 1?
We'll be discussing that later, but if somebody can be prepared to answer Chris's question for certain, we may already have had the answer. Okay, but board follow-up.
Okay, so that's...
Anything for board follow-up? All right, future agenda items.
I'm sorry, I do have something for board follow-up. We heard from somebody tonight asking about changing the lottery process for
For
I
those choice programs.
Lost my mind for a moment there.
Her suggestion was that they could only apply for one school.
Right, and I know we had a study session on this not so long ago, but I'm drawing a blank on whether we discussed this in particular, and I'm just wondering if you can remind us in a board brief.
And I would actually like to, I would like to discuss that further, and her suggestions. And I don't remember when. Usually we discuss it at the March extended session.
Well,
I would like to take a bigger picture to it and do equity and access to the choice schools.
Yes.
Right, there are a whole lot of things we have ongoing discussions about the program.
When is the lottery? When do you have to apply for it?
Lottery occurs in February? No, we have to, January, thank you. So
move it
information nights and so forth start in December. and then lottery in January.
So waiting until March, probably if we want any changes this year. In the big picture, we're not making any predictions or commitments. It would have to be like December 5th, because the Saturday retreat in January would be too late. The Saturday extended work session.
I'd like to hear from Tracy on that. Is that if this is something we were to even discuss for this current cycle, I mean, is that even feasible? And what is the...
Yeah, well, I've had this question come up before. I've talked with Megan about it, so I don't think she'd be surprised to hear me, say what my opinion is. I don't know if you want to have that discussion now.
No, I was just thinking more. No, I don't think.
Update you on why we have the process that we do, and then what would the process be potentially if we were going to look at changing anything with respect to our
I was just thinking if we're looking at
procedures.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off. Sorry about that. Finish what you were saying. I kept cutting you off.
Go ahead.
Okay. If we're looking at scheduling a time to talk about this with the eye of trying to do it before the current lottery, if that's not even something where it's feasible.
It's not feasible to make a change for this year, in my view. I don't think it's feasible to change the policy and implement it for this year. So I think if we were going to have a discussion about it, we'd need to plan. Because I'm certain that we'd have a lot of different and varied perspectives on this, and I just don't think it's feasible to change our current policy for this year.
Right, and again, I would think about it in a bigger picture. What would be the purpose behind doing it? What's the goals? And so looking across the board from a bigger piece of, if access is the piece that we're looking for, then that's one component of what you might speak to.
Okay.
So that and some of the other issues will be part of our, that's so funny, that's delayed. I thought you were done and you were still speaking over there. That's so weird. So this can be part of our big picture discussion that we usually do at the extended work session.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to remind everybody real quick, if I can, the last time, I don't know the exact month, but in the spring when we did talk about choice schools and the whole equity and access and kind of what's the plan for expanding choice schools moving forward, that's the last. There's a presentation, board study session about what's that plan moving forward. But just to address your question earlier, we didn't talk about this particular question as a part of that study session. It was more about where are we going to expand choice schools and what will the process be. Remember, we talked about choice and innovation, and we had the chart that shows which learning communities don't have an elementary choice school specifically, et cetera, and where's the opportunity with the new schools being built to create some more equity of access regionally. So we're planning on moving forward based on that conversation with the board, but we didn't talk about this.
Mark?
Could we have a report from staff regarding the issue that was brought forth tonight about the Quest program and the difference between the districts, our neighboring districts, and how they allow previously scored tests to be used? Just so we have the entire picture.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to remind everybody, sort of regular processes when on the public comment issues, I always do follow up with the board on what comes up during public comment. So absolutely. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So my last follow-up issue is I'd really like to get a legal opinion on this WAC 392, 400, 315. That we have to hear disciplinary hearings. No, I don't want the WAC changed. The WAC says how we have to hear things, but it doesn't say what we have to use as our criteria for judging them. I suggested this last time we had to deal with one of these things. I want to be very clear publicly, and I would like to put this into our policy. I want to see if it's legal for us to put it into policy, that in disciplinary matters, those of us who are on the school board are not required to have any formal education in matters of education and discipline. We are not qualified to judge the merits of the case above and beyond our professionals who we employ to do that. Therefore, as a school board, we choose only to hear things where either the procedures were wrong or the policies were applied inappropriately. That is, we are a Supreme Court. It must be something about the policy, and we will not be making judgment on the merits of the case. I think this is one of the stupidest laws that Olympia has given us, and I don't want to waste our time hearing more of these if I can avoid it.
Shall you ask for a legal opinion? And can we set a policy that restricts how much we do with this?
I'm happy to seek a legal opinion on if the board has any leeway in terms of what's outlined in WAC.
Oh, no. It's the outline in the WAC tells us that we have to give them a hearing, but we shall give them a hearing. But there is plenty of leeway for us to state that this is going to be an extraordinarily short hearing. It doesn't say how long we have to listen to them, if it is about the merits of the case. Because we are not qualified to judge things, to overrule the merits of the case from the professionals we employ in our district to make these judgment calls.
And I think what Chris is getting at is I think we're looking for guidance. Do we have the discretion to set what our standard of review is for these sort of things?
I understand.
Because I know that it's up to the parents' discretion to try and boot it up to us.
Yeah.
But I don't think we even have anything that requires us to give them 15 minutes. If they're not presenting something that says that a policy was violated or the policy is wrong, I am willing to give them 1 minute to state their case, and then I'm done. I have fulfilled the WAC. I do not think this is a useful use of the time of our public school board. And I want to send that message very loudly to anyone who will listen. Unfortunately, apparently, last time I sent this message, it didn't get to this next round of people. This is a waste of our time, and I don't want to have to deal with it.
I will follow up with legal counsel.
Yes.
I would say I respectfully disagree with your opinion, but it is fine to go forward with a legal opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we will go give a legal opinion on what are the parameters we can set around.
I think that's for future. I think
Implementation.
there's
This is
still,
for-
we
We
still
all-
an
yeah,
obligation
not changed
to
I'm not talking about
issue
this
at
specifically.
hand
I'm
and
talking
respond
about
within
I
10
don't
days.
want to hear anything more where anybody's asking me to change a point on a test. That's fucking stupid. Okay? I don't ever want to have that happen again as a school board member. It's a waste of my evening.
Chris, we don't have bleeping.
Oh, sorry. But it's stupid.
Remember, you're practicing.
Well, look, at a certain point, one has to have the right to get really angry at people who are wasting our time. And I don't want to set the precedent of letting people do that.
Not here.
I'd like to table the discussion and move on.
Yeah, not here. Do we have anything else for board follow-up?
I would just like to reiterate, I really like the new presentation on the literacy
Thank you.
in the program. I thought that was very helpful.
Thank you.
Future agenda items?
No.
No. Debrief? Board member comments? Our next meeting is October 24th. We have a 5 o'clock study session. Wait a minute. Why on the next meeting? This is the first meeting of October. Why are we having a study session before the board meeting on October 24th?
I think we might have a mistake. It's correct on the work plan of the board that we have
a 5:30 board meeting,
5:30, and then study session immediately following. So what's on the agenda, unfortunately, we didn't catch that. It's just a mistake.
So the study session will be on College and Career Readiness Task Force update?
That's correct.
And that will be immediately following a brief 5:30 meeting to take care of any business that needs to be
That's
addressed.
Nancy?
Yes.
If we can take one step back to future issues.
Yes.
I'd like to see us look at we have recently changed our policy on service dogs, and I think that we haven't looked at it thoroughly. We did some comparison, but I think there's some more information that needs to be looked at, and I'd like for us to have a discussion on that.
If I can tell you where we are in that, I think the board's been included on the emails, and the last iteration was sharing what the WASDA model policy is and what the Bellevue policy looks like.
Right, and I don't think that goes far enough.
Mark provided some feedback on that, and then we're asking legal counsel for some opinion on that. So it's still in process. We're just waiting to hear back. I'll double check with Paul Vine to see where we are in that process.
I just think we have an opportunity here to be the leaders as opposed to the followers.
So you want to take time at a board meeting to discuss that issue or to discuss the policy?
Yes.
Okay. So let's take a look at where we are with the legal interpretation, and I'll have a discussion about that in the future.
Okay. That would be fine. The one thing is I'm not convinced we need to have that discussion at the board meeting, and that maybe we could look at doing this through another fashion.
Work session?
It's an administrative policy, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. Well,
that's correct. It's an administrative policy.
But it also deals with.
We've got two categories of policy. We have board governance policies, our GPs, our ERs, and ELs. Then we have a set of administrative policies, and some administrative policies are required to have formal board approval, and then some aren't. And typically what our process is, as we are talking about administrative policy updates, that's something that I'll bring to the board.
Okay.
For example, with a choice school policy update that we did recently, we incorporated that into a study session on choice schools, so the board has an opportunity to weigh in and to provide feedback if there's a major shift in administrative policy. So if the board wants to, we could look at the work plan of the board in terms of topics.
I'm sorry to have agitated you. It sounds like you're getting very agitated over the idea, and I don't appreciate it.
Let's wait a minute. All I'm asking is the service animal policy one of those ones that requires board approval or not?
It doesn't, but I just wanted to, and I'm just trying to convey sort of where we are with the process.
I understand that.
And that we're having, so my understanding is board gave feedback on that administrative policy. Specifically, Mark gave some feedback and included the rest of the board. And so we explored what's the WASDA model policy, what are other districts doing, and then board provided some additional feedback. Mark provided some additional feedback, and so we're seeking legal counsel. So all I'm trying to clarify is process. Then for when that's in play, what's the in terms of procedure and board policy? What's the next sort of? So
my
I just
concern,
don't typically.
My concern is there's a Supreme Court case coming down at the end of this month that if we're not careful, we're inviting trouble. And I'm trying to look at it from a policy perspective that has an impact on the administrative policy. And I think if we purely look at black and white of the two don't mix, I think we're very wrong-headed. I think we need to make sure that where the two cross, that we look at it. And to have it be met with such ire,
I just respectfully disagree, Mark, that I'm meeting anything with ire. I'm solely focused on process. I respectfully took all of your feedback and then went and looked at what is the WASDA model policy and what's Bellevue doing. And I hear you that we want to make sure that we're doing the very best that we can, and I agree with you on that. I'm only trying to ask for clarification about what would be the appropriate venue according to how we typically do things of when would that administrative policy, be discussed. So we're just not treating some administrative policy differently than others. So I want to have the conversation. Typically we don't put those on a board meeting agenda. Typically it would be part of a study session. So all I'm asking is
Okay, can I, I'm going to take over control of the meeting, and I'm going to follow up on this issue because I feel like I'm missing something here, but that I can address it later. If we can agree that I will deal with that and move on from that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. And that was at the end of our meeting, so was there anything else anybody else wanted to bring up? Otherwise, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. And for the board,